For years, we've been told that one single control, could make our digital fortresses impenetrable. Well, today, we're not just going to bypass the walls. We're going to forge our own master key and waltz right in through the front door. So buckle up. We're about to pull off a heist.
You know, for as long as anyone's been attacking Windows Server Update Services or WSUS, this has been the absolute gospel, the one universally accepted defense. If someone's intercepting your traffic, just encrypt it, slap it behind HTTPS, and you're good to go. Since about 2015, that has been the final word on the matter. Case closed.
But what if that's not the end of the story? What if the very thing you trust to protect you is the exact thing that can be turned against you? And let me tell you, that single question, that's what sparked this whole chain of events. And it's a question that completely changes the game.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Let's establish our target. Picture a modern, properly configured network. You know, the kind where they followed all the best practices. Their WSUS server, it communicates exclusively over HTTPS, wrapping all that critical update traffic in a nice, secure TLS tunnel. This is our fortress. It's supposed to be impenetrable. And look, this fortress was built for a really good reason. Just look at the history here. Back in 2015, researchers showed you could inject malicious updates. The fix? Use HTTPS. A few years later, tools pop up to make it easy. The fix? You guessed it, use HTTPS. Then, in 2021, NTLM relay attacks hit the scene. And the fix was, use HTTPS. For years, every single siege was repelled by that same high wall. It became a mantra. But here's the twist. Every fortress has a secret. And the secret here is that the weakness isn't actually in the walls of the fortress at all. Nope. It's in the royal keymaker, the system that grants trust and forges the keys to every single door in the kingdom. Yeah, you heard me right. The problem isn't with WSUS. The real vulnerability, the one we're going to exploit, lies deep within Active Directory Certificate Services. The very public key infrastructure, the PKI, that's supposed to guarantee identity and trust, that is precisely what we're going to abuse to bring this whole thing down. Now, to really get how this works, we need a quick refresher on a classic vulnerability that I'm sure many of you already know, ESC1. This is that toxic combination of ADCS settings that SpecterOps made famous. Basically, you have a template where anyone can enroll, they can supply their own name for the certificate, and that certificate can be used for domain authentication. It's a straight shot to domain admin, a total giveaway. So, of course, sysadmins got wise to ESC1, and they thought they came up with a pretty clever fix. They looked at the list of problems and made one single change. They got rid of that super dangerous domain authentication setting, the EKU, and they swapped it for server authentication. Everything else, though, the ability to supply a subject name, the permissive enrollment, they left all of that in place. They patted themselves on the back and thought the template was safe. And that right there, that is the critical flaw. As the researchers Alexander Neff and Phil Knufer pointed out, that one simple fix didn't actually secure the template, not at all. It just created a different kind of weapon. A weapon that, as it turns out, is perfect for our heist. So, we've identified the vulnerability. Now it's time to lay out the plan. See, we're not going to storm the castle. We're going to become the castle. And here's the 4-step blueprint for how we're going to pull off this breach. It's pretty straightforward. Step 1 is recon. We got to find the WSUS server and that misconfigured certificate template. Step 2 is forgery. We abuse that template to request a certificate, but in the WSUS server's name. Step 3, interception. We get in the middle of a client and the real server. And finally, step 4, execution. We impersonate the server with our forged but perfectly trusted certificate and inject our own malicious update. And believe it or not, the tools for the job are simple and they're already out there. First, we just run WSUKS with the -only discover flag. It literally just checks group policy and tells us the name of the WSUS server. Easy. Then, we fire up CertiPy to hunt down our vulnerable template. Just like that, we have our target and our weapon. Now pay attention, because this right here is the magic trick. We use certifi-rec, we point it at our vulnerable template, and we use the DNS flag to say, hey, I'd like this certificate to be for the WUS server, please. And because the template lets us supply the subject, ADCS doesn't even blink. It just happily mints a valid, trusted certificate in the server's name and hands it to us. We've just forged the master key. All right, the blueprint is in hand. We've got our forged key in our pocket. It's time. Let's execute this breach and watch that so-called HTTPS fortress just
crumble.
And it all comes down to this one command. We launch WSUCux, we give it a victim to target, point it to the real WSUS server, but we hand it our forged certificate. The tool handles all the dirty work of becoming the man in the middle. So when the client connects to us, it checks our cert, sees it was issued by the trusted internal CA, and it accepts it without a single warning. That secure channel, it's ours now. Now, let's have a quick reality check here. And this comes straight from the researchers themselves. This isn't some theoretical lab exercise. This is live traffic redirection on a production network. It is powerful, it is effective, and it is absolutely risky. You have to know what you're doing because things can break. And here it is, the payoff. After SUX injects our malicious update, one that kindly creates a new local admin for us, we can just connect. We have full administrative control of the machine. The heist is complete. We didn't bypass the fortress, we became it. But, a successful breach isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one. This attack isn't just some clever one-off trick. It represents a whole new class of vulnerability in ADCS, and it needed a name. 17. Remember that number. That's the new official designation for this escalation technique. So what exactly is ESC17? Well, it's that very specific, toxic misconfiguration where a certificate template has the server authentication EKU enabled, but it also lets the enrollee supply the subject name. The impact here is just profound. It means a low-privileged user can impersonate literally any service that relies on TLS certificates issued by that internal CA. This was never a WSUS flaw. It's a fundamental break in the entire chain of trust. And it absolutely deserves its own number. Why? Because it's a brand new vulnerability born from an incomplete fix for an old one. It lets an attacker escalate privileges through a supposedly secure, trusted channel. And most importantly, it completely bypasses that decade-old wisdom of just use HTTPS. And we have to give credit where it's due. The initial idea goes to Austin Kuntz at TrustedSec. And it was Neff and Kuneffer who formalized it into this new technique. And all of this leaves us with one final and really critical question to take back to your own environments. Because look, this was never just about WSUS. That was just the first easiest target. Think about all the other internal services you have that use TLS, LDPS, internal web portals, management solutions. So the real question you have to ask yourself is this. Which of your so-called secure fortresses are being protected by a keymaker you haven't fully secured?